artists, happy Thursday. It's our Character Creation Thursday. I think I have what might be something really fun planned for today. So let's get to our moving and grooving. It's still our 80s week, and then we'll get to our character creation work for today. I love that Walk of Life, Dire Straits, another 80s song. Hope you're enjoying the 80s week. What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to look at 3 different videos of actors who have played real life people, not fictional characters. All the times as actors, we play fictional characters, but sometimes actors play real life people. So we're gonna look at some actresses who played Queen Elizabeth, who recently passed away. We're gonna see a video from Austin Butler, who recently played Elvis Presley. Probably gonna get an Oscar nomination for that. And then we're going to look at some actresses who have played First Ladies. Gillian Anderson, who played Eleanor Roosevelt, who was a first lady back in the late 1930s and 40s. Betty Ford, who was first lady in the 70s, and Michelle Obama, who was one of our more recent first ladies from 2008 to 2016. So that's what we're gonna look at. There's a very special reason I'm showing you this. So let's look at these videos and then we'll come back and chat. All right?
When you no longer understand your people, Mummy, maybe it is time to hand it over to the next generation.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
In countless movies and TV shows about the Queen, it's a lingering question. Who was she, really? Ben Mankiewicz is our man in Hollywood.
We're going out incognito.
Does the tiara rather give the game away, ma'am?
Yes.
There's the playful princess,
Cooey!
the restrained ruler,
I am protecting the Constitution. I am protecting democracy.
and the Queen with a quick and biting wit.
You obviously know my job better than I do.
Yes, well, you are my 10th Prime Minister, Mr. Blair.
For 7 decades, the Queen was the face of Great Britain, but that face betrayed little, making her an ideal canvas for actresses playing her on the screen, both big and small.
You know, she's such a great subject for filmmakers and television directors because what they've got is a blank slate waving to the public.
Ella Taylor is a longtime film critic and an adjunct professor at the USC School of Cinematic Arts.
She gave away nothing of her real personality in life. I don't think any of us knows anything about the Queen. Her job was to follow protocol in public, and that's an absolute bonanza because they can just go nuts with it.
There. Grief. If you imagine I'm going to drop everything and come down to London before I attend to my grandchildren who've just lost their mother, then you're mistaken.
Dame Helen Mirren seized that blank canvas and ran off with an Oscar for playing Elizabeth in The Queen from 2006. In a Sunday morning interview in 2015, Mirren told Lee Cowan her inspiration wasn't real life, but her own imagination.
I'm just doing a portrait. It happens to be a portrait on film, but it's a portrait. It's not her. It's our understanding of her. And when you're an artist, you are in there. You can't not be in there. So I thought that was an acceptable way to approach it.
Met the Queen as I understand it now. What was that like? Did she?
I got major what we call queenitis, which is when you see the Queen, you just become this babbling idiot. You start sort of saying things like, it was such fun, wasn't it? You know?
On the Emmy Award-winning Netflix series The Crown, there are 3 versions of Elizabeth. Claire Foy as the young Royal Highness. Olivia Colman, who we were on set with in 2019, captures the Queen in monarchical middle age.
Now, much more importantly, who is Billy Joel?
Billy Joel.
Oh, Joel?
Yes. Uptown Girl.
What are you talking about?
I'm delighted to be here, inheriting the role of Queen Elizabeth from 2 outstanding actresses.
Next season, Elizabeth will be played by Imelda Staunton.
Hopefully, I look calm, collected and capable. My stomach, meanwhile, is doing somersaults.
I never got to meet the Queen, and I always wished I had had that experience.
John Lithgow won an Emmy for The Crown, playing Winston Churchill opposite Claire Foy.
Your Majesty.
Claire Foy is a wonderful actress. She brought youth. She brought this wonderful, tremulous trepidation.
Very well, I will discuss it with Cabinet.
No. You will inform the Cabinet, Prime Minister.
The scenes between Claire and me were gradually seeing her assert her authority over him.
I would ask you to consider your response in light of the respect that my rank and my office deserve, not that which my age and gender might suggest.
So it became a very particular kind of family drama. And who knows, maybe it's accurate.
I don't mean that life shouldn't be agreeable, but we can't possibly all be happy all of the time.
So many good actresses have played Elizabeth. Emma Thompson.
Your Majesty.
Mr. Cameron.
Kristen Scott Thomas.
Extraordinary.
Yes.
Never seen anything like it.
Sarah Gadon in the romantic comedy A Royal Night Out.
Price, you may be a captain, but I'm a princess.
And the Queen has been fodder for comedy, too. On The Simpsons.
The Queen's in trouble.
Saturday Night Live.
You think you could just, like, show up and take over, yeah? Do a bit of queening and that, right?
And multiple times by British actress Jeanette Charles, most notably in The Naked Gun.
She came across so adorably.
With the Queen of England ready to toss out the first ball.
And the commentator says, how about that Queen? You know, which only an American could pull off.
4-time Oscar-nominated actress Jane Alexander played Elizabeth in a Hallmark TV movie.
I have been a lifelong
devotee of Elizabeth from the time she was a princess in World War II.
Alexander's father was a doctor serving in London during the Blitz and later in France after the invasion of Normandy. A teenaged Elizabeth, she says, inspired young people in Britain and America to support the war effort.
My mom would say, "Come, Jane, the princesses are on." And you'd hear these little high voices talking like this.
It will be for us, the children of today, to make the world of tomorrow a better and happier place.
And they were talking about the war effort and what we could do as children. And it really inspired those of us in that household.
It's very
I just
easy.
want to stop you guys and just say,
As I spoke to Jane on Thursday, producer Gabe Falcon interrupted with news that it was official. The Queen had died. How do you react to that news that she's passed right in the middle of our conversation?
I'm sorry, Ben. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
It's really the end of an incredible person. For me, for all of us, for so many who have followed her all her life. She just meant a lot to me in terms of who you could be if you set out to be.
Always a mistake to assume just because people are privileged, they lack grit.
Though Elizabeth is gone, these performances live on.
There is no possibility of my forgiving you. The question is, how on earth can you forgive yourself?
And that, says John Lithgow, will only cement her legacy.
I think that's the magic. Whether it was an extreme version of shyness or just the wisdom and self-knowledge of knowing this is my role, and it's a very veiled role. We just cannot know her, but we really miss her.
Eleanor Roosevelt, Betty Ford, and Michelle Obama. Certainly among the many fascinating women to occupy the White House. Leslie Stahl is talking with the stars portraying these three remarkable First Ladies.
Michelle Pfeiffer plays Betty Ford.
The ERA has never been concerned with making women the same as men, just equal to. I didn't know how much she had done behind the scenes and how really politically active she actually was.
Viola Davis plays Michelle Obama.
In 4 years, I don't want to look back and think, what did I become living in that house?
She came into the relationship with her own agency and autonomy. And then all of a sudden, she sort of had to trade it in, you know, to become First Lady.
Add some hope to it, but he needs to state the facts plain and simple. There are 30 million Americans out of work, and they don't want to be pandered to.
Gillian Anderson plays Eleanor Roosevelt.
I'd admired her for such a long time. I didn't quite understand why they asked me. I'm 5'3", and she was close to 6 foot. And I kept saying, "Are you sure?" Like,
Yeah, but
really?
you don't look teeny on television.
But I fell so in love with her in the process and was so glad that I said yes.
The portraits of these First Ladies will air in a 10-part series on Showtime, a division of CBS's parent company, Paramount Global.
Don't push me off. I am your wife, not one of your girlfriends.
At first glance, these First Ladies seem to have little in common.
I have done everything I was supposed to do!
But
even though they all obviously existed in different historical times, one of the really strong themes that runs throughout the series is finding their voice, their struggle to be heard.
So you let him off.
He accepted the pardon. That is an admission of guilt.
Without consequences for his actions.
I was surprised and frankly thrilled that so much of this series takes place in the bedrooms, where the intimacy of the first family is portrayed for us. And I just want to go through some of the scenes that stick out in my mind. And one, Michelle, is when Jerry Ford pardons Nixon, and Betty is livid. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's the angriest that we see her.
Yeah, you were seething.
You know that this makes us look complicit, don't you? Like we're part of the cover-up.
She had made a promise to the American people that this family would always be truthful. And I think she held Jerry to such a higher standard that she really, really believed in her mind that he was going to do the right thing. And I don't...
Because Jerry thought he was doing the right thing.
Well, he thought he was doing the right... He thought he was doing the... Well...
He thought he was healing the country, and he knew it was
did.
going to hurt him politically. But she was offended.
Because she felt that it tainted the family, the honor of the family, and the integrity of the family.
I'm saying that I can contribute.
And I'm saying, with all due respect, that you're not qualified.
Excuse me?
I don't want you to become a liability to your husband, is all.
But you were more than happy to pimp me out during the campaign.
The campaign is over. This is politics.
In more behind-the-scenes moments, the series takes some dramatic license. Viola, one of the scenes that keeps resonating in my mind was how hostile the relationship between Michelle Obama and Rahm Emanuel was. I didn't realize it was that intense.
Well, I think we took liberties. I actually don't believe that Michelle would, cuss out Rahm Emanuel. I think that Michelle stayed in her lane.
Well, if Michelle would stay in her lane, why was the decision made that she would not be portrayed that way?
Because you know that once you get to that White House as the first black president and the first black lady, you know what you're up against.
Look, Rahm thinks that...
Stop right there. You tell your work wife that your actual wife said to stay out of our family business.
Got it. Now I have 2 wives and neither of them are happy.
It's like the famous quote, we wear the mask that grins and lies. So I'm saying that there is a protocol that Michelle is aware of. But with Rahm, we took some liberties. We did, for dramatic purposes.
3, 2, 1.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You see each of the first ladies grow in their public roles.
She hated public speaking. The cabinet is convening, and yet she did it anyway. She really, really believed that what she had to say was so much more important than anything that was going on for her and her fears and her self-doubt.
My doctor advised me that the source of my pain, it was actually much deeper. And he thought it might be a good idea for me to see a psychiatrist.
What was the moment when you said, I get this woman?
And it was.
I can play her.
I saw my mother in her, and I was very moved by that, by women of that generation. Revolutions were happening all around them, but they had made a pact already to really live for their husband's ambitions and fulfillments and support them. And all of a sudden, the rules of the game change on them, and they were too far in to reverse course.
It was so terrible to have a black family in this house that they elect him.
This is not about us.
Isn't it?
In a way, Viola Davis had the greatest challenge.
Everyone knows who Michelle Obama is. They know what she looks like. They know what she sounds like. They love her. If she had been dead for 100 years, do you know what I'm saying?
I do know exactly what you're saying.
And it behooved me to look at her behavior, her hands, how she holds her pearls, how she holds her lips. It's like all of that work before I could even get to what happened in the White House.
You are gonna be a dope first lady.
Viola Davis feels a special responsibility for the series.
Fashion shoots, gardening. You want me to be roasted alive as being elitist and out of touch?
She's one of the executive producers. Tell us how it came about and why you wanted to do it.
Why I wanted to do it in the beginning and then why I wanted to do it once I got on the set, where I'm like, why the hell did I want to do this? I wish I had a better answer. It's a chance for women to play roles that are complicated. And who these women were beyond, you know, the images that we saw on television, I was like, are you kidding me? We can get these really awesome actresses every single season, and they'll have the ability to shine.
So there will be more seasons with new casts of First Ladies shining more light on the struggles, emotions, and influence of these important figures in American history.
They really are the unsung heroes, working behind the scenes and working for social justice. They had the courage to really listen to what they felt was just.
How do you become Elvis?
That was the question.
I watched that skinny boy transform into a superhero.
I mean, his entire career, he would talk about stage fright, I didn't realize that Elvis would have ever felt that. I was incredibly shy as a kid, and I now have techniques or ways that I kind of get over being shy, but my foundation is that. And learning that Elvis was a shy kid, that he'd want to play the guitar, but he would ask everybody to turn the lights out and turn around so that way he could play when nobody's actually looking at him.
You want to become a dramatic actor, is that right?
Well, so that's my big ambition now. I hope I make it. I mean, that's what I want to do.
He felt a responsibility, and he felt scared, and he felt shy, and how did he push through it, and where did he focus his energy? And so for me, that taught me a lot, just even dealing with my own anxieties or fears or anything like that. It really, it taught me a lot.
Austin did an incredible job. I mean, he really studied Elvis like I cannot believe it. All his habits, his gestures, his laugh.
I can't move, I can't sing. It was, I knew from the outset that finding his humanity was the thing that I was most interested in. So it was all in service of trying to find who he was as a man. But at the same time, I wanted to be as specific as I possibly could. And so for me, it was watching every bit of footage that was out there. And I was so privileged to get some home movies that Grayson sent me that aren't public, and that was really helpful to get to see who he was just hanging out in the living room. And I would listen to every interview of his countless times and just absorbing everything that I could.
I lived this for 2 years. I put the rest of my life on pause. So you can't help but it becomes a part of your daily life, you know? So I definitely know my voice slips into it at times.
There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, but in the end, you gotta listen to yourself.
And then getting specific and just obsessing about one thing. Like, it might be the way he said one word, and I would just spend all day just obsessing about this one word.
I'm ready. Ready to fly.
Or it'd be the way, why does he touch his face in a certain way? And it was always trying to find, why does he do that? Why does he move in that way? And some of that was just even asking questions about his own spiritual journey or that sort of thing. So it was a constant thing of trying to find it every day, you know.
Reverend once told me, when things are too dangerous to say, sing.
To watch the character sort of linger in him between scenes and between days, obviously when we were off work and hanging out, it was incredible. I felt like I was watching the real thing, and I think to see like the past and the present come together through him and through Baz and CM was just an experience that you can't, you know, it was incredible.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I too sometimes play real life people. I played Muhammad Ali, Daniel Day-Lewis once played Abraham Lincoln, and Sally Field played his wife. his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. So actors sometimes play real life people, and the list goes on and on and on. So your character creation challenge is to pick a real life person, not a character on TV, but a real life person. It could be someone from sports like Magic Johnson. It could be someone from history like the president. Anyone that you pick. I want you to pick a real life person and create a scene as if you're that person. All right. So you might look at the physicality, when I watched the Crown, that's the show I watch. Whenever Olivia Colman, who plays Queen Elizabeth in the Crown, her body is always like this. She has a physicality. So what you're going to do is create a scene, but you're going to imagine that you're a real person. So again, you could be Abraham Lincoln, one of the presidents. You could be one of the first ladies. You could be Rotner. Imagine you're doing a film where you're playing Madonna or Beyonce or Paul McCartney, Beethoven. The list goes on and on. So your character creation challenge is to pick a real life person and create a scene as if you're them. All right, so you're gonna take a real life person, living or dead. All right, and you're gonna create a scene or monologue as if you're them, a real life person in history. All right, so that is the creative character creative challenge. You're texted to me at dejclass@gmail.com. You can whether you're texted to me at 323-354-2478. You can email it to me at dejclass@gmail.com or post it on our Facebook group. So again, come and create imagine you're a real life person and you're playing their story. All right, you're telling the story. So again, you might be Madonna, Abraham Lincoln, the king, a sports figure. I don't know a lot of sports, so Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Babe Ruth, those are the ones that come to mind. So again, your character creative challenge is to imagine that you're a real life person in history and create a scene as if you're them or monologue. All right, so let's get to some more moving and grooving, and I'll see you tomorrow for Behind the Scenes Friday.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away, I've got to get away from the pain you drive into.